Hello everyone, welcome back to another Voluminous Energy changelog video. In this video, we're going to be going over the changes in Voluminous Energy version 0.1.2.0. So this update focuses mainly on mod compatibility improvements by improving some of the issues that was happening because of the implementation of recipes in previous versions. So there is a little bit of a rewrite for recipes, but this should make everything work a lot better in this version. So some of the changes you'll see now is if we take a look at some of these fluid-based recipes like the equalizer, you can see that they no longer have a bucket as their input. You can see that the fluid now takes the spot of where the bucket used to be as a representation of the amount of fluid that needs to be taken in. So previously, the slot, which would hold a bucket, if it was to take, one bucket of water, the whole slot would be filled. And in this case, you can see water. We only need 250 to make liquefied Coke, so that's Coke dust plus water, 250 millibuckets. So that's a quarter of a bucket. That takes up a quarter of the slot here in GEI. So GEI has a lot of improvements for various different tile entities in recipe types in Voluminous Energy. Centrifugal agitating, same thing. Uses fluids now, 1 fluid to 2 fluids, right? Compressed air, half a bucket, half a slot, and it goes into 20% oxygen, 25% oxygen, I think, and this is that's not 25% oxygen, but you get what I mean, right? So it goes into oxygen and nitrogen. Yeah, you can also now use the hotkeys in GEI to look at the fluids and see what they can be used for, like the combustion generator. You can see here the oxidizer. There's a little bit of a funkiness going on here when you have a mechanism installed for some reason. But you can see, it takes an oxygen. You can see the different types of oxygens that it takes. So it takes mechanisms oxygen and Voluminous Energy's oxygen. Only takes our compressed air because no other mod adds something along the lines of compressed air, and only our dinitrogen tetroxide. If I left click on this, you can see it takes me, okay, how do I get dinitrogen tetroxide? I can see centrifugal agitation, red fuming nitric acid. I can look at that again, and I can see saltpeter and some sort of sulfuric acid, whether that's mechanisms or ours. In the equalizer, that's what it gives us. So you can see this is a lot more useful. It hooks into other mods like mechanism a lot better, and this should be a lot easier to traverse through to find the recipes that you need, and to figure out how to create a fluid or what that fluid needs, right? So there's also some other features that have been introduced. If you have a Quark installed into the game now, you can now use the tallow, both the block and the single piece in the Stirling generator. Okay, so in the Stirling generator, the single piece of tallow will only run for 10 seconds since it's only 200 ticks. It's 200 ticks because it only smelts 1 item. The tallow block, it smelts 9 items, so it's 200 times 9, so that's 1800 ticks, or 90 seconds, assuming 20 ticks per second. If it's not, if your world is not running at 20 ticks per second, or the server's not running at 20 ticks per second, it won't take 90 seconds. It could take more, but this is the absolute number here, 1800 ticks. Still, the Stirling generator is always giving you 128 FE per tick. It's just the time changes based off of the material. So you can now use tallow. If you have immersive installed, you can use some of the fluids in immersive, if I can see them. Like gasoline should be compatible now, no problem. You can see we can use any mod's gasoline. There's also some new custom recipes. So if you have Pneumatic Craft installed, you can see this is a new recipe that Voluminous Energy now bundles with that you can use LPG, biodiesel. By default, you wouldn't have this in previous versions. In this version, you now have biodiesel, and this will work. If you're not familiar with how the combustion recipes work, if you're using these fuels in the combustion generator, you have to pair them with an oxidizer, and the oxidizer determines how much RF you get per tick. But each fuel has a set volumetric energy, and the volumetric energy is basically a measurement of, if I have 1 bucket of fluid, how much energy is in there. You can see the recipes. This is a standard one. Kerosene, that's another new one that specifically targets Pneumaticraft. So if you have Pneumaticraft installed, you'll get this recipe. Coal, coke, vegetable oil, plant oil, ethanol. So you can see that if you have these mods installed, you can either use their fluids now in Voluminous Energy, or if their fluids that are not in Voluminous Energy is supported by Voluminous Energy, you can set them up. You can use them as well. Voluminous Energy with this version 0.1.2.0 also should have not special, but it should have some sort of CraftTweaker support. So if I do CT dump, and I do recipes, and I also do CT dump recipe types, I should now actually be able to go check that log file, and you should actually now be able to see Voluminous Energy recipes in CraftTweaker. This also means that starting with this version, you can actually create your own custom recipes. So if you want to use Voluminous Energy in a mod pack, or you want to remove certain recipes because if you have multiple mods installed, maybe you'll have duplicate recipes or something like that, you can use CraftTweaker to remove those. As I said, you can create new custom ones, which is really great if you want to use mods that Voluminous Energy doesn't have custom recipes for. So that's an option, and that's in this update. Other than that, this update is not huge. Obviously, it's not a major update. It's more of a minor update, but it does have some changes that are quite significant in relation to recipes. So that's it for this update video, because there's nothing really else to talk about. This is pretty much just recipes. You may have noticed that I didn't do a changelog video for the last update for Voluminous Energy. That was 0.1.1.0. I can just quickly show you what was the big change with that update. That update basically was just changing of the fluid mechanics. So if you have an oil geyser like this one here, you can see that you won't just fall straight to the ground anymore. You'll kind of slowly sink to your death, so to speak. And if I go all the way down to this disc here, you can see, like, in oil you wouldn't be able to get out. Other fluids, they are not they don't prevent you this much to get out of them. But the acids, if we look at the acids, like the sulfuric acid and white fuming nitric acid and red fuming nitric acid, the fuming acids, they fume now, while the sulfuric acid does not fume, but you will take damage in them. In all three of these, you will actually take damage in. So if I do game mode, survival, you can see you light on fire and you burn. I'm actually probably gonna die here. Right. Same thing with this. Right. Yeah. You get the point. Sulfuric acid's the same thing. You light on fire, except that there's no particle effect. So it didn't really warrant a update video on its own. So other than that, those are the changes in both 0.1.2.0 and 0.1.1.0. And I guess I'll see you in the next update video.